Of all movie opening scenes, what one sold the entire film the most? Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is my number one. It's so iconic. So many films, TV, etc. pay homage to it. The statue, the boulder rolling, grabbing the whip from under the door, everything. It's perfect. Hashtag X200B, edit, he grabbed the whip from under the door in Rotla, the hat grab was from Temple of Doom. The Matrix. One little detail I love about that scene, Trinity is revealed to be a superhuman fighter that can take out several armed men. Then when she hears there's an agent, she is scared. That was a great way to sell the agents without even having to show anything they can do yet. Get up, Trinity. The way they portrayed her fear was amazing. She was superhumanly awesome and humbly humanized in the space of about 90 seconds. Airplane. Listen, Betty, don't start up with your white zone shit again. Super Troopers. You boys like Mexico? Littering and smoking the reefer. You are freaking out, man. The OG Star Wars. Not the title crawl but the one right after that. This is so difficult to overstate. I remember experiencing those first few minutes after the crawl. SF movies before the opening scene of Star Wars were either so cheesy or very abstract. First, holy crap, that's a real planet. Then oh wow, that's a real spaceship. No way. Those are real lasers. And then the Star Destroyer. Oh. My. God. It tells you all you need to know about the odds the rebellion is up against. The cruiser looks like a decent-sized ship at first, but then the Star Destroyer comes overhead and it feels like it goes on forever. And even that is tiny next to the Death Star. Exactly. It's an absolute clinic in economical visual storytelling. It is the entire conflict of the story distilled into one shot. The Dark Knight. My answer as well. It sets up the entire film so perfectly. The Joker is an unhinged maniac whose allegiances are always to be questioned. What appears as an elaborate bank robbery quickly reveals itself to be a larger scheme. The soldiers of the robbery start picking each other off one by one after each of their usefulness is exhausted. The bank, the seeming victim at the time, reveals itself to be affiliated with the mob and not as innocent as you once thought. The Joker is not unhinged. He knows exactly what he's doing. Every detail and process is meticulously planned. The gives everyone a job, has them kill one another to tie up loose ends. Robs a bank, taking only the mob money. Leaves the marked bills. Somehow manages to drive a bus into traffic the exact moment a convoy of buses is driving by, and it just disappears until he crashes the mob meeting. Scream. The tension and terror were built up perfectly and the eventual killing of Drew Barrymore's character was shocking. Not just in its brutality, which was quite graphic for its time, but because such a major name was killed off that soon into a movie. The opening kill is a tried and true horror trope, but it had never been done before with such a big name so early in a film. For the rest of the film, every time you saw a big name show up, Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, you weren't sure if they were going to make it to the end of the film or not. Great to see love for the Scream franchise. Love the meta references and callbacks to some classic horror flicks, and yes, that opening scene is intense and many believe Drew Barrymore was the main star and were shocked. Also seeing the Ghostface mask for the first time is legit scary. Rip Wes Craven. Funny thing, that is actually a reference to Psycho, which had the same issue. Janet Leigh had top billing, but the famous shower scene was the end of Act 1. Children of Men. I went into the theater blind in 5 minutes and I knew to buckle my seatbelt. Hot Fuzz, the pace, the settings, the little stupid details. And in Advanced Cycling. You want me to take this up to the chief inspector? How's the hand? Still a bit stiff. Tropic Thunder. The opening fake trailers were a great way to start that movie off. And no one saw it coming. 3 more times. Who left the fridge open? Here we go again. The opening scene in Reservoir Dogs completely sums up everyone's character. Mr. Pink goes on his logical rant about why he doesn't tip, showing he is the logic thinker. He also claims always to be the one acting like a professional. Later in the film, he tries to keep the group together and stay professional. Mr. White takes the book from Joe when he gets tired of hearing him drone on and on about Toby, showing they are close friends. Mr. Blonde offers to shoot Mr. White if he doesn't give the book back to Joe. He even shots him with a finger gun. Foreshadowing Mr. Blonde's violent actions later in the film. Finally, when Joe asks who didn't tip, Mr. Orange immediately rats out Mr. Pink. Mr. Orange, of course, is the undercover cop and the rat. If we're going Tarantino, I think the opening to Pulp Fiction sucks you in more. No Shaded Road though, I love that movie. If we are going for Tarantino, Inglourious Basterds opening takes the cake for me. Au revoir Shoshana. Still gives me the chills. He owns the scene so much, for a moment you really think he's going to snipe Shoshana with a handgun. And then, again, later when they are having lunch together, you don't know if he recognizes her, or if he'll do some more terrifying shit. You can literally feel her fear. Goodfellas. As far back as I could remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. Whenever I watch Goodfellas now, I can't ignore the fact that Ray Liotta didn't know Paul Sorvino was going to slap him. That's up there with the True Romance Dennis Hopper-Christopher Walken scene. Supposedly, the only people in the room that knew Hopper was going to tell the Sicilian story were Hopper and Tarantino, and Walken almost breaks character. He has to start laughing in character and act it off, upon hearing the story. Gotta be a big gamble with going in cold like that, lot of prep and it may not even come off. The Fellowship of the Ring. It didn't just sell the movie, it sold the series. That prologue let you know right off the bat that this was truly Middle-earth, and it was epic. Everything about that series is just incredible. The only downside is that now I can no longer be immersed in a fantasy world if it isn't filmed in New Zealand. When I visited New Zealand, I had not intended to do a LOTR filming sites trip, but they sold books for it everywhere. Then I got to Queenstown, and boom, there's the mountains they light the beacons on. So I had to go and buy the damn book, and was shocked at how many locations I'd been through already where they filmed. You can't go to the South Island without seeing something you'd recognize from the movies. Up tears every time. My father, who is a stoic man who hardly ever shows emotion, watched that movie with our family when it first came out. After the opening, he left the room and refused to watch the rest of the film. To this day he claims it is the saddest he has ever felt watching a movie and that nothing could make up for the loss the old man felt. He said he couldn't stop feeling a depressing premature loss for my mother, who is still very much alive. My younger siblings teased him for it, but that was the first time it really clicked with me how much my parents really loved each other, and it still makes me tear up thinking about how that small cartoon sequence made him feel so broken. See if you can get him to finish it. He may find some sort of peace in how Carl comes to terms with Ellie's death. The whole point of Carl's arc is that he believes his life is over and entirely darker because Ellie is gone. What he learns is that as long as he keeps her spirit alive and doesn't stop living himself, then she's never truly gone. And that you have to let go of the past to reach the future. Edit, my first medal. Thank you so much. Edit 2, my second medal. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. I truly don't think my father sees any possible future where he outlives my mother, and that was the first time he really thought about the possibility. The Godfather. Holy shit. You come into my house on the day of my daughter's wedding to ask me to do murder for money. I think he says for money. I ask you for justice. That is not justice. Your daughter is still alive. I've never seen a movie with an opening scene as important or impactful as The Godfather. Edit, U2.B. I wasn't allowed to watch R-rated movies as a kid, so I read the book first. It was a long time ago, but I think it starts off with Sonny having sex with a servant, then goes on to explain how woman's girth allows his size to not be painful, also a good intro, educational and such. I too read the book first back in the late 60s. My stepdad had been reading it and it was on the back of the toilet lid. I took it from the bathroom and read it in 24 hours. One of the few books I've read more than 3 times. Fantastic read. And quick.